Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Lunch with Haley webinar. This is David Stearns with Haley Marketing, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to a very special edition version of our webinar series. For those of you who were attempting to listen live, I apologize for the GoToWebinar issues that we ran into. We've been using GoToWebinar for more than a decade, and this is the first time we've ever had it crash on us. I'm guessing it was either the sheer volume of people we had record attendance for this webinar, or just the overall volume that GoToWebinar is experiencing. Either way, I'm really happy that we have other tools to record this, and I'm more than happy to be able to share these ideas with you today. So as the title of the presentation says, we're here to talk about strategies for a changed world. And I don't think there's anybody listening in who would say that we are not in a completely different world than we were even just a couple of weeks ago. We're facing unprecedented challenges, something that none of us have ever seen in our lives. Maybe our grandparents saw it in the Great Depression, or our great-grandparents saw it who remember the Spanish flu. But we're not ready for this. We didn't know what to expect. But that said, while there is no playbook for what you should be doing to get your business through this challenging, turbulent time, there's a lot we can learn from the past about how to plan for and even thrive in these crazy economic times. At Haley Marketing, we've been around now for nearly 25 years, and we've been through 2 recessions in the staffing industry. One that, for my own business, we saw 2/3 of our clients lost in a 6-month period, and we found a way to recover. I grew up in the staffing industry, and I remember my parents talking about recessions and hyperinflation in the early 80s. And I learned a lot of lessons listening to them, and I learned a lot of lessons working with companies like you. And we're going to talk today about a lot of those lessons. But let's kick things off by going backwards. So let's go back to December. We didn't see this coming. There was news about a flu epidemic in Wuhan, China. What did that mean to us? We're not Wuhan, China. Maybe if you're a manufacturing company that's sourced from there, you were a little worried, but we didn't see it coming. And when we did see it getting a little bigger and starting to spread and becoming a big issue for China, we just said, well, that's terrible for them, but it's not going to happen here. That stuff doesn't come to the United States. And then when it started to come here, we started to get really empathetic, worrying about others, worrying about other businesses, worrying about our friends in the industry, worrying about our families. I just hope that everyone else will be all right, because we're still in denial. It's not going to happen to my company, my family, me. And then it did. And all of a sudden the news turned just a few weeks ago. And you're watching it, it's almost like we're in a movie. This can't be real. I can't understand and process what's going on. Which brings us to the situation of, what am I going to do? How do I get through it? Well, that's what we're here today to talk about. There is no rule book. There's nothing I can tell you that said, here's the right answer for your business. If you're a recruiter, if you're a staffing company, there's going to be different solutions for you based on your specialty, your geography, your expertise, the kinds of clients you serve, your ability to pivot and do different things. It's going to be different for all of us. We're facing a time where we just got pummeled with a 1, 2, 3 punch. Coronavirus was just the first punch. And then Russia and Saudi Arabia decided to play a game of chicken with oil prices and drop energy costs down. And for those of you who are in Texas, particularly South Texas, listening to this, look, when oil gets below $50 a barrel, it's bad for Houston. When it gets down below 30, it's bad for everybody. And except, it's good for our wallets as consumers because the gas prices are dropping, but it's bad for the U.S. economy when the energy industry hurts. And then throw in there, I don't know about your state or if this is federal now, but New York State, where I am, just mandated no organization can have more than half of their employees coming to work if they're still going to the office. So how do you run a manufacturing facility with 50% of your workers? Can you really run a distribution company, a call center with half of your workers? Offices are easy, we can go home. But how do these other businesses do it? And all of our restaurants are closed, the bars, the theaters, sporting events. it's just a hit to the economy unlike anything anyone's ever experienced. And 2 days ago, March 17th, 2020, Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs declared that we're in the midst of a global recession. We have now reached that point. Happy St. Paddy's Day. Well, yes, it wasn't a very festive St. Patrick's Day, and we are officially now at the point of the R word, recession. But I don't want to be all gloom and doom. We're going to talk about a lot of positive things. In fact, most of today's presentation is about things you can do to take control of the situation. When we wrap up at the very last slides, there's going to be some things that I think you'll really enjoy. And we're going to talk about strategies to get you through this. But first, let's talk about what a recession is. There's probably a lot of people listening to this recording who have never been through a recession. Or if you've been in the staffing industry, you've never seen one in staffing. And the official definition here is that it's a significant decline in economic activity spread across the entire economy, lasting more than a few months. I think the official definition is 2 quarters of negative GDP. It's visible in terms of drops in the domestic product, the total value of goods and services sold in our country and in the world. A drop in people's income, employment, a drop in production from factories, and a decline in wholesale and retail sales. We clearly have all of that already going on. This definition sort of made me chuckle. A recession is when a friend loses their job. A depression is when you lose yours. So hopefully no one here is going to come out of today's call and end up depressed. Yes, we're going to have friends who lose their jobs, but we're going to do everything we can to minimize that loss, to keep our employees working as best we can, and to make sure we preserve the jobs for your people and your organizations. So what causes a recession? Besides coronavirus, inflation or deflation. Thankfully, we've had neither of these. Our prices have been relatively flat for a long time, thanks to a combination of fiscal and monetary and fiscal policy. Maybe botching my economics words there, pardon me. But the government and the Fed have done a good job to keep these two inflation causers in check for more than 11 years. Credit crunches, a rising interest rate. We haven't had that since the end of the financial bubble burst, the housing market in 2008. Reduced spending. Government was supposed to be reducing spending in the last few years, but they've increased it. And corporate spending has been like a tidal wave in the last 3 years. And that's driven a lot of consumer spending because we feel, well, until recently, we felt really good. So we're buying stuff. If there's a loss of confidence in the markets or a market crash, yeah, we've got that going on. Falling housing prices and sales. Thankfully, we don't have the housing prices. They haven't lost their value, but sales clearly are on their way down, which is driving down manufacturing orders. Although I'm really happy to see one of our clients just reached out to us saying, hey, we need more help with our website right now because we supply a lot of people that manufacture food products and the demand is through the roof. We can't get enough people. We have to retool our website to enable us to better respond to our candidates. Awesome. So not all manufacturing is slowing down, but some will be. Bad management practices. 1991, the community banks caused a collapse just on their bad management practices that actually brought down the U.S. economy for more than a year. Asset bubbles burst. This was 2008, the housing market. And this is the biggie right now, fear. When we're afraid to spend money, when we're afraid to take action and we don't buy stuff, we don't invest in our businesses, people lose jobs, people stop spending money. And that causes the recession to happen. Clearly, thank you, media. I think the media was necessary. I don't want to sound negative there or trite. I think we need to deal with this very seriously because of the threat to those who have health ailments and our senior citizens. But I think the media has approached this crisis in a way that has caused too much hysteria and not enough rational thinking. The rational thinking is, I think, what we're finally starting to get to, and we're finally doing the right things. And then people and companies spend a lot less. And that causes a drop in business activity, and of course you guys in the staffing industry know what that means. Less work means less need for workers. Hours get cut, flexible workers go, unemployment rises. bad debt and loan defaults increase. And then prices and interest rates tend to fall. Well, they already cut the prime rate to near zero, so I don't think interest rates are going much lower. There are some countries that have gone to negative interest rates. Essentially, you pay the bank for the privilege of holding your money and just having it sit there. We probably will see some people in staffing slashing their prices in a desperate attempt to keep sales. Hint to what's coming up later, that's a bad strategy. And in staffing, we know it. Hiring freezes mean no direct hire. Temps get let go. Job orders become scarce. And if we look in the past, up to 30% of staffing companies go out of business. Now, I'm happy we don't have 30% of the staffing industry listening to this webinar. And that means you guys can put these lessons into action and not be one of the statistics. It truly is in your control. But it's not all bad news. Some sectors are flourishing. Healthcare, we've been trying to get a call scheduled with one of our clients for the past 2 weeks, and they just keep apologizing, saying, we're so busy recruiting nurses, onboarding nurses, placing nurses, training nurses, dealing with questions from nurses, we can't do anything else. Mortgage rates, we may see another refi boom with the prime rate going down to zero. That was a huge boom in the post-2008 recession. IT tends to be pretty recession proof, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing IT is going to do fairly well as companies look to accelerate their digital transformations. Collections, not a great industry to want to be in when there's a recession because people are hurting, but they hire lots of temps and they hire lots of call center people, and they may be someone you can help. Consumer staples, I heard a stat that they just sold 4 months of groceries in 2 weeks. So their whole supply chain needs to be rebuilt. Manufacturing, distribution, home delivery now. Lots of consumer staples are going to need to be delivered, and they're going to need lots of people to do it. Discount retailers. Walmart actually did well in the Great Recession. Will it be Dollar General this time? I don't know. Will it be online? Will it just be Amazon / things? I don't know. But there may be people who are offering goods and services for less that will do well, that are ideal customers for you to target. Sin industries. Alcohol and tobacco do well. Gambling, the other big sin industry, actually falls. People don't go to casinos. But especially if we're locked in, there's a line at the liquor store. People are buying their cigarettes, and whether you like or dislike it, the people involved in that industry are still hiring and will be, maybe even more so in the coming months. And I don't completely get this one. Maybe I'm the wrong gender to understand, but cosmetics actually tend to do well or even increase in a recession. All right. Let's get to the stuff that you came here to listen to, though. How do you get through it? So how do you survive a recession? In order to get ready for today's presentation, in order to help our clients and help the industry in general, I went out and did a lot of research. For those of you who don't know, in addition to being CEO of Haley Marketing, I'm this year's chairman of the American Staffing Association Marketing Committee. And so I kind of feel it's my responsibility to help us figure out things we can do to better promote the industry. We've got an amazing team of marketers working on this, but I wanted to get a bunch of background information to help the marketing team, to help our clients, and to help the industry in general. And so I went and said, who are the smartest people I can think of? And the first place I went was Harvard Business Review. And I said, well, what have they written about the recession? They get the smartest people to write stuff. And I found some amazing articles. And just so everybody knows, you're about to see a synopsis of a synopsis. I took several full-length 12, 15-page articles and cut them down to being 2 to 3 to 4 pages per article. For this presentation, I cut them down to 1 to 2 slides. So we will make the full versions of the full synopses that I put together available to everybody as a follow-up to this webinar. But the first one I found was a great article on how to survive a recession and thrive afterward. And this was written during the 2008 recession. And the lessons were, number one, deleverage. But the biggest thing you have to make sure of is don't run out of money. If you run out of money, obviously you can't run your business. So the advice is, before a recession, if you see it's coming, which we didn't this time, reduce your debt as much as you can. Restructure it to try to get lower interest rates. That you may be able to do now. If you're running your business on credit cards, go to a funding company. Go to a bank. Go to somebody who can help you get the cost of capital down to run your business. Focus on decision-making. Centralized decision-making is better when you have to make hard decisions. It's better to have the senior leaders doing that. But when you need to respond to people quickly, decentralized in your local offices, your branch managers, your regional managers, putting the decisions where the expertise lies tends to lead to more adaptive decision making, which can be much better when you're in a downturn to be able to adapt to rapidly changing market conditions. Look beyond layoffs. The knee-jerk reaction is I got to cut overhead, or I got to cut staff. It's my biggest expense. I got to cut it. Well, the best way to cut labor is actually through operational improvements, not cutting people. Because when you improve your processes, now people can do more with less. If you cut your people, you just have less people to do. And coming out on the other side, which could be as soon as a few months from now, you suddenly don't have the bandwidth to take on the growth, and it's going to go to your competitors. Invest in technology. I mentioned digital transformation. I think we're going to see a boom of companies trying to Uberize, trying to think about ways that I can take staffing and make it more of a digital business. So I'm more transparent with my clients and candidates, giving them access to data. I'm more flexible. I can adapt to the market conditions and what our clients want. I'm more efficient and can deliver at a lower cost of service. The second article that I want to recap is called Roaring Out of a Recession. And this had some really interesting perspectives on key core strategies. Number one, I thought this was interesting, is don't be too defensive. Companies that just go into slash and burn crisis mode thinking do really badly coming out of recessions. When they come out, they tend to be able to achieve only 1/2 of the growth, 1/2, 50% of the growth of companies that follow an optimal model, which we'll talk about in a minute. And here's the big part. They come out and they achieve 1/10 the profitability of companies that are more progressive. We'll talk about what that means in a second. The second lesson is don't be too aggressive. Some people get into times like this, they're like, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. We are going to do everything possible to achieve our goals. Nothing is going to get in our way. We're just going to keep investing like nothing is going wrong. And the problem is those people become blind to the risks. Now, they do better than the cost cutters. They get about 60% of the growth of the leaders and 50% of the profitability. So they're way better from a bottom line perspective than the people who play defense. But the winners have an optimal balance. They run a progressive company. They look at every aspect of their business models and they say, how could we do it differently? How could we do it better? How could we do it faster? How could we cut costs out of the process? How could we make the process better for our clients? They build in permanent cost reductions. Cutting labor is a temporary drop. It's a Band-Aid. Changing your process is a permanent fix. So that gives you a competitive advantage coming out. They invest to develop new markets and enlarge their assets. That new market could be a new service you want to offer. It could be a new geographic market. Enlarging your assets means they invest to get better at the things they're already really good at doing, and we'll talk more about that later. They actually increase spending on R&D and marketing. They find the dollars to increase spending in these two areas. We'll talk about marketing at length coming up. But the key point is the companies that achieve the highest levels of growth and profitability do these four things. And you're going to see a couple of the other experts I found, how much this gets reinforced by the advice of others. Speaking of marketing, that's our next presentation from Harvard, How to Market in a Downturn. I found this one fascinating. Number one was to understand recession psychology. So normally we're thinking about things like market segmentation. What size business is this? What industry are they in? What type of staffing do they use? It's very much traditional segmentation on demographics. In a recession, you need to look at psychographics, how people respond. And people respond in one of four buyer segments. Slam on the brakes. I'm not going to spend money. Anything, I'm pulling everything in. We're done. Those are not going to be great customers in the next few weeks and months. Then there's some who are pained but patient. They may hold off some investments. They're still going to do them, but they may hold off. They may invest, but at a smaller level. They understand they need to do stuff, but they're in pain. They can't do everything they want to do. Then there's the comfortably well off. This is the 1%, at least the 1% of your clients. They're doing well. They've got plenty of cash. they're going to buy things you put out there. They're going to use your services because they're going to grow. They can afford to. They're well positioned to actually do well in a recession. This may be companies that are in industries that are counter-cyclical, like collections, like healthcare, or it may be businesses that are just much more financially well off than their competitors and can take their competitors out when the competitors are struggling. And then there's the live for today. For those of you watching the news and have been watching the spring breakers in Florida who don't seem to care about coronavirus, that's the live for today segment. We're just going to do what we want to do. We don't care what happens because we just think it'll get better. These are the people who are kind of burying their head in the sand. They can be good for short-term sales, but they may not end up being long-term clients. But if you need staffing sales, you might look at people who are just live for today types of customers. So these are all about people's attitudes towards a downturn. Clearly, anybody who's in the restaurant industry has to be slam on the brakes. There's some people, sports teams, bigger hospitality organizations, might be in the pain but patient. They know it's coming back. They want to strengthen relationships with their clientele during this downturn. What we're going to think about is understanding the reasons companies use your services. Are they buying from you because it's essential to operations? That's great. If it's essential and anything but slam on the brakes, you're going to keep selling. Then there's indulgences. I don't think this applies to staffing very much. It applies to consumer goods, but I'm going to get the high-end chocolates because I just have to treat myself when I'm feeling badly. Are there things, services you provide that are indulgences? I'm not going to recommend an indulgence strategy to anybody in staffing right now. But if you've got that kind of strategy, you're taking a premium good and looking just for probably that comfortably well-off audience that's still going to buy it. Then there's postponables. Postponables are things people know they need to do. They're not quite as important as essentials. They're going to get done, but they're going to get done later. And now you want to work with those customers on how can we start proactively recruiting now? Maybe they'll pay you a small fee to be a proactive talent scout to help start building a pool for them, even though they're not ready to hire. Again, we have to get creative about what we offer, but postponables aren't going to buy necessarily the regular staffing services today, but they might need your help in planning, in starting the engine. And then there's the expendables, things that they're buying from you they really just don't need. Like if they view direct hire services as expendable because they could do it themselves, that's a problem. If they view it as essential, and actually now as people are going to be more unemployed, they view it as essential to find that diamond in the rough, to find that needle in not one haystack but 1,000 haystacks that you can do as a recruiter. We have to take the expendable and show them how it's essential. We have to take the postponable and show them how to get started. Focus marketing on becoming more essential, offering lower cost versions of indulgences. Have a little treat if you can't have the whole one. Increase the urgency of postponables. Show how our expendables are actually necessities. All right, next really smart organization I looked at was a company called Bain Company, management consulting firm. Well, what do they have to say about dealing with a recession? And guess what? They had some great articles. What they said is coming out, and they were not talking about 2008, 2009. They're actually looking at, they said we're overdue for a recession now. And this article was written before the whole COVID-19 issue. They said this recession is going to be different. One, it's going to be the end of non-tech businesses. Every business is going to have to go through some digital transformation. Technology is going to define the next generation of services. And here, think of Uber again. Uber did it to the taxi cab drivers. There are companies trying to do it with online staffing. It's not proven that it will take out traditional staffing yet. But how can your business become more tech savvy? How can you go through a digital transformation? This is where the Staffing Tech Conference comes into play. This is where ASA's focus on technologies come into play. You can see it coming into the staffing industry. And we have to be more aware of the tools that improve service, that enhance the customer experience, that allow us to deliver faster and better, that allow us to lower costs and start to build them into our businesses. Also, they're forecasting it will be the end of low interest rates. Even before these rate cuts, we were at historic lows that had lasted forever. And what Bain & Company said is, by their analysis, is the days of low costs are coming to an end, low cost financing are coming to an end. And as the cost of capital rise, usually that will decrease capital expenditures. So if you're thinking about investing in office space, people, equipment, or any other capital purchases, take advantage of low interest rates. Even though it may be painful to do so, now is actually a really good time to lock in loans for things you know you're going to need. Now, going back to the deleveraging comment, I'd love to lock in loans where I had no interest, no payments for 6 months or 2 years or whatever they offer in the furniture business. I'd love to see that come to commercial spending. But you have to think about the fact that it's going to get more expensive to finance your business going forward. So you want to finance things today that are going to need to be financed and find ways to cut the need for financing in the future. So how, I apologize, there's a typo there. I made these slides till late last night. It's supposed to be how winning companies behave differently. But what Bain Company found is the companies that were most successful, and they studied 3,900 companies. What they found out is 17%, of those companies, the winners, had 17% compound annual growth during the recessionary periods, not after, during. Their competitors, the losers, had 0 average compound annual growth. So that's 17% per year versus 0. Here's what the winners did. They restructured costs before the downturn without cutting the muscle of their business. We're already into the downturn, so we're a little late on that one, but you can still look for any costs you might be able to restructure. Put the financial house in order, be less dependent on debt. If you can, it's just like a house personal income, 6 months of cash in the bank. Invest selectively for commercial growth. This means where you're already good. Don't try to do lots of new things. Invest to your strengths, not just market opportunities. Go where you are already best and become even better. Maintain your marketing. The companies that achieved greater growth didn't cut marketing. That enabled them to have greater visibility. That enabled them to take business from their competitors. That enabled them to create new opportunities to sell their services. Improve the customer experience. Make it more enjoyable, easier to do business with you. If we're going to have to do all this selling long distance and all of our service long distance, how do we create a great digital experience for dealing with clients and talent? If you are in the market to buy companies, this is a time to be proactive about M&A. Maybe you're not even buying, but build your pipeline. What are the companies you're going to go after? Start identifying organizations that are a good strategic fit so that you can build your business as we start to turn the corner very rapidly. All right, next one was a company that does consulting for small businesses. I hadn't heard of this company, Signature Analytics, but I found the article in doing my research, and I really liked what they had to say. Here's some steps to thrive. Financially prepare for the downturn before it happens. Okay, that's the 3rd time we've had that piece of advice. Kind of now we all wish, wouldn't you have told us last year? But we didn't know last year. Here's a biggie, and nobody else has said this one yet. Strengthen customer relationships. Now is the time to get ultra close to your clients, to learn more about their business than they know about their business, to be able to solve problems for them that they're struggling to solve for themselves, to find new ways to use staffing strategically, to reduce cost in their business, to drive efficiency, to enable them to take on new opportunities without adding full-time overhead. This is where it's time to become a master of what you do best. Jim Collins in the book Good to Great talks about this principle called the hedgehog principle, which is identifying amongst 3 variables. Number 1, what are you the best in the world at doing? And this is what I ask everybody to go figure out. Where are you the best in the world? In your local market, for the type of staffing you do, are you the best in the world? If anyone is better, how do you take them out? You want to build on your strengths during downtimes to get even stronger. So the gap between you and your competitors gets wider. We'll talk about what companies do that's a big mistake in just a minute. You want to beat the competition. You want to look at their strengths, their weaknesses, and figure out how you can improve your strengths, change your processes, change your servicing methods so that you can beat them where they're weak. And you can make sure your services at least equal them where they're strong. Here's advice again. It's our 3rd one. Don't let marketing fall through the cracks. Out of sight is out of mind. Don't get comfortable. First time I had seen this advice. I love this one though. Like everything you're doing, challenge it. Don't assume anything you're doing right now is good or right. Instead, try to optimize every process you have. Make it faster, easier, make it lower cost of delivery, make it more enjoyable for the client or the candidate. Process optimization. This is a great time to work on that if your business is a little bit slower. And maintain good credit. You may need to borrow money, and with interest rates at zero, good time to borrow it. But you may need to borrow money, so you want to make sure you have as much credit as you can in case you need it to survive. And lastly, in the experts, I saw this letter being passed around. I think it was on LinkedIn. I saw it from Sequoia Capital, who's the largest venture capital funding company in Silicon Valley. And they spotted this right at the beginning. And they defined the coronavirus as the black swan of 2020 long before it hit the United States. They saw the coming drop in business activity, the supply chain disruption, the curtailment of business travel and meetings. They asked their portfolio companies to question every assumption about their business, including their cash runway. Can you get through a few weak quarters? If you can't, what will you do? How will you plan to get through that? In the venture capital world, people need to raise, Series A, Series B, Series C funds. Well, fundraising may get much tighter. So they're telling their portfolio companies, plan for a cut in funding. You may need to plan your business for a cut in funding, or maybe get close now to some of the funding companies or your bank to say, hey, are you going to be there for us as we start to scale again? Anticipate what your customers will do. Build sales forecasts. Talk to your customers. Help them forecast their needs. What's going to happen in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days? The more you know about how your clients are likely to change, the easier it is to plan, to proactively recruit, to bring in the internal staff you're going to need. Marketing. They weren't so much about doing more marketing as really fighting to ensure you're getting the highest possible return on investment on your spend. They said if you've got like higher cost stuff that's costing a lot to bring in every new client, maybe you want to spend more on client maintenance right now and less on acquisition because not that many customers are switching vendors they're using. Unless you're offering a lower cost alternative, in which case you'd want to get really aggressive. Headcount. Again, operational efficiency. They didn't say cut, strive to do more with less and raise productivity. Capital spending. This might be a time to put those bigger purchase plans on hold. Does it make sense? But what the letter from the CEO said is it might very well make sense to accelerate capital spending because now's the time to strike. Now the competitors are weak. Now the cost of buying things have dropped. You may be able to negotiate better rates. So if you want that new investment, that new technology, that new marketing program, well, maybe now's the time to get a little better deal on getting it implemented. Be opportunistic. Just always be on the lookout for ways to accelerate your plans, new market opportunities, clients you thought were going to be doing lousy that suddenly have a spike in their demand, sectors in your business you never thought of. I'm a fan of a small business who is hurting right now, but they don't know how to use staffing, and most of our industry doesn't market to them because they're only onesie-twosie purchases. But you add up the millions of onesie-twosie business out there, and all of a sudden it's a substantial market. And in a downturn, almost any customer is a good customer. So get out there and find those kinds of opportunities. All right, and that was the advice for the experts. Now we're turning to the advice from, I categorize this as really silly people. Sorry, everybody at Team Haley. Yesterday we have one of our teammates, the lady in the middle with the beautiful baby, who is departing us. And so we had a farewell virtual happy hour to say goodbye. But I want to share some advice from Haley Marketing. As I mentioned, we've been through multiple downturns. We've seen this sort of before. And we've seen the companies that have really come out strong and the companies that didn't do so well. And I don't know who took the screenshot, but I'm coming after you because somehow I have the worst picture on the screen. Thank you very much. We'll get right past that. Okay, so let's go back to 2006. I think I was either lucky or a little bit prophetic, but I wrote an article in 2006 called Surviving the 2007 Recession. It was a year early. I said this is the time to look at locking in clients. Can you go to your clients and look at first call agreements, giving them special rates so that you are the first company they call to get a head start in the job orders? Can you look at volume purchase agreements, giving them a break on the cost of services because they're going to guarantee a certain level of purchase with you? Looking at single source agreements. Hey, if you'll just work with us and we don't have to have as much sales expense, we'll cut our prices to you. Maybe getting into more on-site management. Maybe clients can downsize some of their staffs and have you take over managing their staffing function, or maybe even providing other HR consulting or recruitment consulting services that you could be managing for them. It doesn't have to physically be on-site. Maybe it's, especially now, remote workforce management could be a very real possibility as a service you could offer. Deepen those client relationships. Spend more time talking to your customers, helping them plan. We'll talk about that more at the end. Look for opportunities to reduce costs without damaging services. I repeated some of the advice from some of the experts. I guess I did have some knowledge here. Investigate diversification opportunities. Diversification being, are there tangentially related services you could offer? Hey, I do light industrial. Maybe I could do skilled trades. Maybe I could do the lower end of engineering. Don't pursue the hot market. Oh, nursing's hot. Let's be a nurse staffing company. You'll get crushed by the experts. You don't want to just jump in. Maybe you want to buy a company that does that. That's a good way to diversify. But you want to diversify around your strengths. Service line extensions are a way to do that. Tangentially related skill disciplines. Geographic markets. Take your expertise, take your quality of service, and go to the next town over. Or go to a marketplace that isn't having as many issues dealing with coronavirus, or their local businesses are doing better. Maybe product line extensions. You may have to think about some entirely new services that your customers need. The problem with going into an entirely new skill discipline where you don't have customers is you've got nothing to build off of. But you could take your existing customers and say, what do they need now? Maybe outplacement. Maybe they need help with workforce planning. Maybe they need strategy on how to retain their top performers so they don't lose them. Maybe they need advice on how to do remote work. There are lots of ways to look at diversifying. And right now, some of that diversification may just be supplying expertise. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Broaden your client base. The more concentration you have in a small number of clients, the more at risk you are. So do whatever it takes. Those onesie-twosie clients are fine. You just want as many clients as possible that you're working with, so when the overall business contracts, you've got more to rely on. So it's something we take very seriously at Haley Marketing. Is no client is more than 5% of our revenue. And that's really important to us, because even if you lost your biggest client, it doesn't put you out of business. And we had to remember in 2001, we had a client that had a 90% client concentration in 2 accounts. They lost both in a 3-month period. They had to close their business, and it was a husband and wife team, and the stress broke up their marriage. It was a horrible case. You don't want to have anything negative happen to you, your family, because you're too client concentrated. So really look at how to get some of those smaller clients, other clients, your weaker competitors' clients, to broaden your base. Help your clients plan ahead. They're wondering what to do. How do they keep from losing their best people? What do they do if they need to lay off? Help them develop strategies for staffing now, tomorrow, in 3 months, and 6 months from now. Manage your own financials more aggressively. Cut those non-essential costs. See where you can negotiate better deals where possible. But more than anything, cut costs through process efficiency. We said it in 2006, and we're saying it in 2020. Upgrade technology. This is a time to reinvent your business through better adoption of digital technology platforms. It's time to build that tech stack, as you hear people talking about. All the technology products that make you better able to serve your clients and candidates. And the section that really comes from us, smart marketing. And we have a lot of things you can do. Integrated direct marketing, taking marketing, mail, email, connecting on LinkedIn, social messaging, and integrating it with your sales team's calls, now on the telephone, to increase their efficiency and extend their capacity. You extend their capacity by allowing them to use these marketing tools to stay in touch with a much larger client base. Use low-cost direct marketing to stay top of mind. It can be letters, postcards, email, again, social messaging, things that don't cost a lot to deliver, but a great way to stay in front of people. And I'm a fan of direct mail simply because so few companies are doing it and even fewer are doing it well. Great way to get yourself to the front of the express lane at the supermarket, which these days, as you know, can be very valuable. How about targeted promotions to drive immediate response? This can be skill marketing candidates because even in a bad economy, good people are able to find jobs. So you can help your clients find really good people. You may be other promotions you're offering, incentives that match your clients' industries to use your service now or proactively hire. How about a direct hire service where we'll collect the fee in 3 months or 6 months? Sure, you have to do the work and you're not getting paid anything now. But if it keeps you busy and 3 or 6 months from now, you're going to have this big influx of cash, why not help them today with the deferred payment? Conduct educational workshops to teach people to use staffing strategically. Show them how staffing is a tool to cut operational costs, reduce the total cost of labor, improve organizational efficiency, enhance productivity, manage workplace risk. You need to show your clients how they can use your services better. Give them a reason to want to use more of your services. This is a time to do more recruiting, to develop deep and broad candidate networks so that when you get a job order, you're probably not the only one getting it, and you can be first to fill. Fast wins in this economy. Upgrade your website to improve your service and increase inquiries. Obviously, you want to be responsive to mobile so that it looks great on any device. You probably want to be ADA compliant, but more than that right now, you want to think about what changes you can make, whether it's through SEO to better optimize your website, or it's through adding calls to action, adding response mechanisms, adding marketing automation, adding IP tracking to know who's visited your website so you can get more response from your website. Repackage services into new solutions. Think about ways to take apart something like direct hire and offer the pieces, just sourcing, just candidate screening, maybe just doing the interviews for your clients. But are there different ways to break apart, unbundle, repackage services into new solutions? This is about getting creative. There's not a one right answer here, but it's about thinking about my customers have problems A, B, and C. What are all the ways we can solve them beyond just traditional temp help, temp to hire, direct hire, and payrolling? Bring your sales team with your service team to client meetings so you can really analyze what the client's going through and build more custom tailored staffing plans. Get more involved in your local community to increase networking with key decision makers and just overall increase your visibility. Show how you're supporting the community in these tough times. And then do more research to gain insight on your clients' businesses, whether that's calling them, interviewing them, conducting an online survey. Might even go so far as to hire a research firm or do focus groups to really understand your clients and how they think about staffing services and how they're addressing the challenges that they're facing. All right, let's fast forward in time. We're now up to 2008. 5 things we could do. This was at the heart of the recession. Crystal ball was gone. We were in the thick of things. Look, again, help your clients plan ahead. Get a jump on the competition. Right now, a lot of your competitors are going, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? It's sort of a deer in headlights. They don't have a strategy. They don't have an action plan. Get in there. Use multiple channels of communication to be more visible, to strengthen your positioning and stay top of mind. Great advice in 2008 and even greater advice in 2020 when being visible and staying top of mind is going to be about digital marketing. Demonstrate the ROI of your services. Goes back to teaching your sales team how to sell strategically, but create case studies. Create cost illustrations that show how staffing is a tool to reduce costs, how you can eliminate overtime expenditures, how you can convert fixed cost to variable, how you can help by providing people who are productive more hours of the day. I know in my world of marketing, people look at the percentage of time that creative talent is billable. They call it billable efficiency. And in most companies, they look for 60 to 70% of a creative person's time to be billable. Well, I'm going to make the math easy. Let's say you had a creative person who's being paid $50,000 a year and they're billable 50% of the time. What that means is every hour they're billing to you, they're the equivalent of a $100,000 a year employee. That idle time where they're not billable, you're paying for, but it doesn't get you anything. And so if I'm a staffing company selling to organizations, I want to understand their efficiency of their key people and how much time they lose, because maybe through the use of temps and contractors, I could actually reduce their cost of labor. Educate your clients. Teach them to be better users of staffing. Most of our clients think they know staffing, and they think they know staffing because they know what temps are and they know how to buy temps and they understand markups. That's not the same as being an expert in the staffing industry. And you really want to give away your expertise to show what you do to help companies plan for their hiring needs, proactively hire, effectively source and screen talent, put people on the job, ensure candidate satisfaction, get feedback from customers. I mean, there's so many things that you already do well. Give away that expertise. And you may be worried saying, my customers, if I give away my expertise, why do they need me? Well, giving away your expertise is exactly opposite. It shows your customers they need you more because they can and won't do that on their own. Don't wait to get started. The longer you wait to take action, the more you give your competitors an advantage over you. Even a bad plan in the beginning that you refine is better than no plan. I love this stat that I found. This is from the 1991 recession and then the 2001 recession. And they looked at advertisers. And they found that people that aggressively advertise during a recession obtain 4.5 times the market share gain of competitors who cut back on marketing during a recession. More marketing equals way bigger recovery. And that's why you want to get started right now on the things that will drive awareness and help your clients solve their problems, because it will position you in the right way. Even if it doesn't pay off in the next 30 days, it will pay off when the market rebounds. One of my favorite articles we wrote was one that just addressed, what do you do when everyone says we're not hiring? Step one, stop being reactive. If you're calling, in fact, there's a great LinkedIn post a couple days ago, somebody in HR posting how much they were annoyed by staffing companies calling about their hiring needs. Like, we don't have any hiring needs. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. Don't be reactive. Ask better questions. Ask proactive leading questions. How's this impacting your workforce? Are you having to cut back on talent? I'm sure you likely you may not need temps right now, but what do you need? Where are the pain points? You want to ask questions that help show the buyer you're not just there to make a sale, you're there to help them solve problems. You need to train your salespeople how to ask those kinds of questions. Go back to Sales 101. Do more homework. Do your research before you go out. Try to find the pains that are occurring in your clients' industries so you walk in there informed and ready to tell the client, I know from what I've seen of companies like yours, X is occurring. And when I've seen other companies with X as a pain point, here's what I've seen them do. Could we help you do that too? Drive out costs. Help your clients not reduce their use of staffing, but reduce their total cost of labor. How do they reduce the cost of labor, the cost of bad hires, the cost of turnover? Those are all things that get reduced with staffing. Capitalize on your own opportunities and help your clients capitalize on theirs. Help them to find opportunities in their businesses. Your clients need to drive growth too. How can you provide the extra resources so their key people can focus on growth? That their most critical assets are working on the most critical projects. Provide the support they need through the provision of labor to those companies. And finally, again, now's the time to recruit more, not less. Be strategic about recruiting so that you are ready to respond, and then every job order you get, you can be faster at filling, and you can also find top candidates that you can turn around and skill market. In a recession, what do you do about things like branding? Usually branding is like, why would I worry about branding activities in a recession? I need sales. Well, in a recession, marketing should be a non-negotiable. If you lose visibility, you will lose market share. No ifs, ands, or buts. And you will lose it faster. Companies that market fall less and grow faster. One of our biggest clients made a big commitment to marketing in 2008. And I was really impressed with them for doing that. They recovered 6 months ahead of most of their competitors, and they were recovering at almost double the rate of their competitors and the staffing industry as a whole because of their commitment. It wasn't easy. It hurt. They spent money that they didn't really have for a time, but then they made money faster than they ever made it. Also, having really good marketing, it gives your sales team something to talk about, especially if you're doing content marketing where there's education. They can talk to people about the topics rather than the staffing needs that may not be present. But what about branding? Branding this time is used to strengthen your positioning. When you're reinforcing those assets, when you're building what you're good at, your marketing should be about strengthening your positioning as a leader in what you're good at. It should be about creating differentiation and brand preference so people want to choose you because they don't see anybody that's quite like you. You're not one of 10 light industrial staffing companies. You're the only company that has that process that works so well. You're the only company that shows the same level of caring about the customer and about the candidate. You're the only company that fills orders that fast. You want to clarify what you're all about to your clients, to your candidates, and to your internal staff. Everybody should know what you're known for. There are lots of types of brands to consider. 3 of the biggest ones are personal brands. Your brand might actually be built around your recruiters and your salespeople, especially if you're an executive recruiter. It's built around the talents of the individuals, their knowledge, their expertise, more so than the company as a whole. Or maybe your product. I know we had a client in Cleveland that looked at their service products and they built a brand around their service process saying, this is how we do things. Nobody else works quite like this. So we're going to build a brand around our service process. Or a market brand in the specific niche market we serve. Here's why there's no one like us. Harley Davidson's a market brand. In the motorcycle world, there's only one Harley Davidson. Nobody's like them. Who's the Harley Davidson of staffing in your marketplace? Now, you don't have to be loud and obnoxious like Harleys are. Sorry, Harley lovers. But you have to think about what can we do to be that dominant, that well known in our marketplace. And that brings us to our final section of slides, which is what did the winners do differently? And this is going to be all the take home, kind of summarizing this stuff. Number 1, you do have to play defense. Get prepared as much as you can. You can't really do it before it happens. We're in the middle of it, so get as prepared as you can by planning, developing, take your leadership team, get out of the firefighting and spend a day planning. Figure out the non-essential costs that you can cut and the things that are essential that you may be able to negotiate some savings on or maybe defer some payments on it. Automate, streamline process and procedure. Strengthen customer relationships. Don't give your competitors a way to get in there. You can't meet with your clients face to face, so you got to get really good at digital customer service. Get Zoom. Get on Skype. Lots of email without wasting their time to strengthen and build bonds with the people in your clients' organizations. If you can, sign longer-term contracts. Give people an incentive for those. Focus on your core strengths. Become unbeatable or even irreplaceable with the kind of staffing and recruiting that you do. Every extra dollar that you can squeeze out of the business, save it to build a cash cushion. I know it's harder than we're already in the midst of the downturn, but if you can, continue to build. And as you get new sales, first thing you do is build the cash cushion. Don't get comfortable. Challenge everything that you're doing. How do we do it better, faster, easier? How do we make every process more customer and candidate focused? Get on the offensive. Don't just play defense. Remember, those are the companies that recovered the worst. Market, market, market. Do not become invisible. Invest to improve your process efficiency. Top grade internal talent. Top grade your temps. Go after your competitors' best workers. This is a time to get the best and the brightest working for you. Invest in R&D or digital transformation. This is a time to look at what tools would really give us an advantage coming out of this. A cost advantage, a service quality advantage, a speed advantage. Invest more to build around your core focus, training, systems, even hiring people. So we're better. Maybe it's outsourcing. So we're better at delivery. Pursue M&A where it makes sense, because now, at least in the coming months, if this lasts any longer than that, companies are going to get cheaper to buy. And there's a lot of people who've been through recessions as owners of staffing businesses who may have said, I've had enough. I'm willing to sell. Avoid the biggest mistakes. Panicking. The world's in chaos. We don't need to add to the chaos. Let's be there to help one another. Only focusing on cutting costs. We need to have that progressive balance of cost cutting and offensive moves to create new market opportunities. Cutting marketing is a big mistake. Out of sight equals out of business. Slashing prices is a big mistake. You cut your prices, you don't get to recover. People just think that's what you should be charging. You can offer targeted discounts. Maybe discounts where you cut the level of service. Maybe discounts where you bundle services. Maybe discounts, as we talked, for volume, duration, quantity. Don't do nothing. Don't be sitting in the corner saying, well, I can wait it out. I know it will get better. Plan in case it doesn't. Plan what you will do and figure out the things that you would like to do right now. Don't jump into the hot new market or industry where you have no expertise. Unless you're going to do it via M&A, that's the surest way to waste a lot of money and get crushed going into an industry you don't know anything about. So those are the biggest mistakes companies made coming out of 2009. Create your marketing strategy. To do that, think about segmenting your clients along those psychographic lines we talked about. Improving your sales efficiency, sorry for the typo again, late last night, with integrated direct marketing so that you're integrating marketing tools, mail, email, social messaging, with your sales team's phone calls, video chats, to make the salespeople more productive. Using email, paid advertising, social media, and mail to keep your company top of mind. Bundling services and creating incentives to buy now. Skill marketing. If you got top talent, work doubly hard to find homes. I know most companies aren't hiring, so if it took 5 calls last week, it may take 50 calls this week, and it may take 500 calls next week. But if you need to make sales, you make the 500 calls. Become a resource for your clients with content marketing. What problems can you help them solve? Broaden your client base. Even if it's the little guys you're going after, get as many new clients on board as you can. Give people an incentive to give you a trial. Find new services to provide to your current customers from talking to them and helping them plan. Again, automate to improve the experience for clients and candidates. Look for new business models, whether it's online staffing or other new ways you could deliver services to your clients. Go deeper with your clients to help them plan ahead for the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. What are they going to do when growth kicks back in? Then 2 pieces of my favorite advice to wrap it up. Number 1, I choose not to participate, and you also can choose not to participate. None of us are beholden to the U.S. economy or the global economy. We live and die by our clients. If my competitor's customer quits, that's a recession. If my customer quits, it's a depression. How do we find more customers? How do we make sure our customers don't quit? We get more aggressive with sales, marketing, and our pricing strategies. We focus on the places where we can add the most value. We invest in training for our people to make them the best in the industry. Excuse me. We look at product development to create new services that will absolutely crush our competitors, things they can't do well. We try to make the recession the other guy's problem. Target the weaker competitors. This may not be nice, but when it becomes survival, you go after the companies that are not going to come out. And if 30% are not going to come out, you need their clients working with you. You increase your volume of sales activity and marketing activity. You hire away top employees where you can, and you recruit more so that your talent pool is the best in the industry. And I left one thing off here. You also need to maintain relationships with your candidates. They're scared. So reassure them, yes, some people may lose their jobs, but how do we share information, help them maybe take advantage of all the free online training that's being offered right now to upskill, to make them more employable. Let them know what you're doing to help them find jobs so that they see you as, maybe you can't find me a job, but man, you're at least doing everything you can. but a lot of staffing companies go dark on their candidates in a downturn. And that's the best way to make the candidates feel like you don't care about them and to drive them away. You do not want to do that to yourself. Homework in our last moments. Go back, review your current clients. Where are the strong relationships and the weak ones? What are we doing as a company to really add value, and where are we not? We're more of a commodity to our clients. Do you have a strong understanding of each client, their challenges, their marketing and staffing? Sorry, I left that in from an internal slide. Their staffing needs. How can you help your clients better prepare for a downturn? What else can you do to be more essential to their businesses today and tomorrow? Create a plan for each of your clients, an actual written plan that you sit down, that you review over the internet with the client, saying, here's ideas, thoughts we put together to help you get through this. Be a partner in their success, a real staffing partner. Which brings me to our closing. How can we help? We're here to help you. We've got a lot of free content, training. So this webinar you're listening to because you went to lunchwithhaley.com, we have 10 years of on-demand webinars available at lunchwithhaley.com. Tons of free training. It's all there for you at any time under the on-demand webinar section. We've written some really good ebooks. We've got our smart marketing checklist, which you see a picture of. We've got 160 some odd questions to help you evaluate your marketing. We've got our 2020 vision guide to help you plan your strategies for this year. And if you already got that from us, you might want to go look at it again based on how the market has changed. We've got our sales lead generation guide. You can use these URLs to just go download those for yourself. We have our podcast, Secrets of Staffing Success, where we're interviewing thought leaders and companies in the industry about what's making them successful. And our host, Todd Lewandowski, has said he's going to specifically go after companies that survived the last recession to look at their strategies. And our second podcast, Insights, where Matt and Brad talk about best practices that our team is seeing in different areas of marketing. And you can learn a ton in their little combinations of 6-minute segments. These are great things to listen to when you're driving around town because you need to get out of the house, or you're using the home stationary bike because you just need to do some exercise when you can't get out. Take advantage of all this free content that we give to you. Another thing we just created literally today. We think the industry needs to talk. We're users of Slack here at Haley Marketing, and Slack is a discussion tool. You can use it on any device. It'll give you notifications on your desktop, your phone. We've got sections that we put in there. How are companies going to be dealing with COVID-19? Places to brainstorm with one another, sales and marketing ideas and challenges, to talk about your recruiting strategies, what you're doing now, technology Q&A to see what other people are doing, and even a section like just morale building, random chat to help make people feel better. And best of all, this is totally free. You can get on the group. Join us, please. It's called Staffing Works. And you can go to tinyurl.com/staffing-works to sign up. If you're already using Slack, just look for a new workspace. Just type in staffing-works as the name of the workspace and join us. We really want you to have us join in with us, as part of this conversation. This is a tool. It's not a marketing tool for us. It's a tool for conversation. So the industry, we can come together and help each other out. And there are some things we can do. If you need help with strategic marketing, there's a lot we can offer. We'd love to talk to you about it. Digital sales tools to expand your selling capacity. PPC and social marketing to maximize online visibility. We actually have promotions going on in those things right now. Educational content to help you promote the value of staffing service, that strategic value of staffing. We have lots of content. Nurturing campaigns to keep you top of mind when you don't have time to make all the calls you'd like to make and you want to block your competitors from reaching out. SEO and web enhancements to make your site convert better and get more inbound leads. And if you're in an industry that still needs lots of help with recruiting, job spend management to optimize the recruiting, we're here for you. And even if you don't buy anything from us, we're happy to talk with you and give you ideas. Please feel free to reach out. Now, this slide has no bearing since we're only doing this as a virtual webinar, but if you do have questions, reach out to us. We can't have a talk online, but we'd love to hear from you. Call us, write us, reach out to us on social media. We are here to help. We would love to answer your questions for you. And from all of us at Haley Marketing, we sincerely wish you the best for your health, your safety of yourself, your organization, your families, and your prosperity as we come together as an industry to get through these unprecedented tough times. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure to present to you.